יופי. מעולה. אז קודם כל ערב טוב ותודה רבה רבה לכולם שהצטרפו. יש לנו צוות די גדול כאן מ-UPP גם. עוזי, דפנה, חגית, שרי ורננה ואני. Did I miss anyone? לא נראה לי. יש לנו המון חברות מהשטח. אני ממש מעריכה את מי שהצליחה להצטרף בשעה לא מוקדמת זו. אז תודה רבה לכולם. I'll hand over to שרי. אני רק אגיד שתי מילים על ההתנהלות של הוובינר. אני כן מקליטה. אתם מוזמנים להתכתב בצ'אט, למרות שנורא קשה, לשרי בטח לא תוכל לעקוב אחרי הצ'אט בזמן שהיא מעבירה את הסדנה. אני אנסה לעקוב אחרי זה, גם לי טיפה קשה לעקוב, אבל I will do our best. ואם יש משהו באמת שחשוב, שאתם רוצות רגע שנעצור ופשוט תפתחו את המיקרופון, תגידו סליחה שנייה שכולנו נהיה מרוכזות ותרגישו בנוח, בסדר?
Sorry, what's your name?
I'm Talia. Hi, pleased to meet you.
Hi, Talia.
Is that Darlene?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Darlene. Pleased to meet you. Do you prefer this in English or in Hebrew, everyone? Are we okay with English?
English.
Okay, sorry. So let's do it in English. All right. And if there's anyone who's having difficulties, let us know. All right. Over to you, sweetie.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sari Sturm. I'm a writer. I wrote this book together with my friend Gali and with the help of our entire team in UPP, of course. I really like how it came out and I hope you all do too. We'll introduce you to it in a few minutes. I just want to say that I've never actually done a webinar before. I'm usually behind the scenes kind of person. So excuse me if I make a mistake here or there. And first and foremost, I'm a teacher and I've taught English for 10 years in elementary school and high school and junior high. So my experience is in the field, it's from the field. And my kids are these ages too, so I always test my things on them. See if it works or if they're bored and fall asleep in the middle. So the first thing, I'm gonna try and share my screen with you so you'll see the book if you don't have it near you. Okay. Okay. So first of all, we chose the topic of our book is something that we think kids nowadays really enjoy reading about. It's divided into so many categories. So we start off with the superheroes that I'll show you in a few minutes, which speak to the kids these age, and they are probably familiar with lots of different superheroes from books and movies. And then we go and continue the book. The first chapter is the first unit is superheroes, and then we continue on and make it to our everyday world, which you will see as we scroll through the book, if you haven't already gotten your hard copy. So the table of contents, I'm just looking at my other screen where it's shared. So if I don't look at you, I'm just looking at the screen. So we start with superheroes, that's unit 1, and then we have hero animals, which is something that also talks to the kids these days. Most kids have a pet or want a pet or read about animals and know how and it's connected to their life. And then we have the teen heroes, which is kids their age and what they're doing and how they can become heroes. And then we have heroes everywhere in the neighborhood, heroes that they meet and they don't even know that they're heroes and how they can be a hero. And then we have the heroes of tomorrow, which is the future. So those are the topics of the book. And I'm gonna go through, I'm just gonna scan the first unit and show you what the units look like according to unit 1, because all of the things that happen in unit 1 happen in the other units. We have a very unified version for of each unit, like things repeat themselves, which gives it a very good, it's all very, very structured. So the teacher knows what's going to happen first, next. Every unit is divided into 4 parts. As you'll see when I scroll, The first part is always a few short texts, which is easier for the kids to read. Then we go on to listening comprehension. Then we have a longer text, and then we have the literature. And there are so many different genres in this book, from a play to a poem to a story, an article, a newspaper article, a magazine article, a brochure, advertisements, many, many different genres, which make the book a lot more interesting for the kids. Now, the first part of each unit, the first page of each unit is actually a bunch of pictures that are connected somehow to the unit. So when the kids look at the first page, they can sort of try and guess what they're going to be learning about and how the pictures are connected to the unit. You can also have them go back to it at the end of each unit and see how the pictures were connected to what they learned. Of course, we have the introductory questions, which take them into the unit. Now, this is the first part one. As I said, they have short texts. In the beginning, they always have a few pictures just to get them into the text. Now, they're always going to have, before the text, before a reading or a listening, they're always going to have 2 parts of new words. They're going to have B, which introduces words that they have learned already in previous years. And going forward in the book, it's going to be also words that they have learned in this book that are recycled words. These are all the recycled words. And of course, it sends you to the workbook, which I'll show you soon, for more review of the words. And then you have the new words, which are taught in this specific part. Each part will have a list of new words. Of course, they're all banned words. And then you have 1 or 2 activities. Most of the activities are done in the workbook. So you have the reference of the workbook at the bottom of the page. We have a lot of these small little parts, like Let's Talk. There are a lot of different features while they're using the book. You have a lot of different features, like Let's Talk and Let's Act and Let's all kinds of different stuff that as we go along, I'm going to point them out to you. Now, this is the part where they have a few short texts, and each text is usually followed by some sort of small reading comprehension, just to make sure that they understood what was taught. And this part can actually be used as, this is a good way to these texts can help the heterogeneous classes, like the kids who are only able to read a small part can only read 1 text, and the others can read 2 or 3 texts, and then the stronger kids can read all 4. And there's an activity after the text, and then of course a reference to the workbook with much more activities in detail on the texts. The next part, we have word power. Word power is always activities about using the new words. They include the recycled words and they include the new words. Sometimes we have these small little boxes to reintroduce them to grammar points, which they have already learned in previous years, but they have small tips just reminding them how to use them and what to do with them. Next, we have Zoom into English, which is called grammar. And we are always recycling the new words. We're always using them in our activities. If it's the activities in the grammar, we always start with using the new words, and then we'll go on to other contexts because they do have to know these words in other contexts. But we always start with the sentences or context that they have gotten to know in this unit. We have spelling tips. Now, these spelling tips are just a small sampling of what they should remember, but then we're always sending them to the grammar helper, which is at the end of the book, where they have all the grammar rules in the proper format in the long version. And then you see at the bottom, C is act out. That's another feature that appears here and there, which we can use to help make this fun. We have a Let's Talk on page 15. That's also something which we want to really make the kids want to speak more, and we want to make it more interesting. And then we have small tasks, not in every single part, but in every unit, there's going to be at least one small task. It's not the performance task, but it's a small task that they can do that's, of course, connected to what they have learned. And we give them small tips also, like capital letters. We remind them of things that they should be aware of while they're doing the task. Okay, now this is part 2. Now I'm not gonna go through the entire book, of course, so I'm just gonna start scrolling a little quicker and just show you a few features and details that are good to know. Part 2 is a listening part, and then we have the first page, which is the picture and guiding questions for pre-listening, as a pre-listening activity, just to get them into the context. We have the recycled words, the new words, activities, and so on and so forth. We have tips here and there. We have another let's talk. And then zoom into English is a grammar. Okay, part 3 is the part where they have the longer text. And again, we have the pre-reading, we have the new words and activities, and then they have a longer text. And here's a fun feature that we have every now and then on page 25. You can see the do you know. We threw a lot of do you knows, which are very interesting, fun little fun facts for the kids. Some of the kids are going to know these things, some of them won't. It's a topic for discussion, which they can then discuss with themselves, among themselves, or with their parents. And all of these topics are very, very interesting topics. We use a lot of current events, as I'll show you later, a lot of topics that have come up and the kids know about and talk about, and they can continue talking about it. And these topics, a lot of our stories and articles and texts are about real things that happened in the world, real kids that did real things. And then they can go into YouTube and watch videos of all these kids and what they really did, and enhance their English and enhance their vocabulary and just learn more about the interesting things they've learned here. So it's a funner way of giving them homework. We have word study on page 26, which we throw in every now and then, which we give about different vocabulary words, like prefixes and suffixes, and 2 words that make a new word, and all kinds of things that they should know. And then the part 4 is going to be the literature. And of course, we have the pictures that lead them into the activity. And here we have a very nice little poem. And then we have another feature, the think feature on page 31. We give them a high order thinking skill. We pose a question, and then they can have class discussions about it. And of course, it's connected to whatever they're learning about or have learned about. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the workbook now, I'm gonna go to the workbook now. Hold on. And I'm going to show you just a few things that you may want to see in the workbook. The let's remember on the page 4, that's the activity with the recycled words. So remembering words that they have already learned. And then we have the new words when they have activities, and all the activities are they're from word level to sentence completion. They're from easy to hard, so that most kids will be able to start with things that they know and then gradually continue on to some more difficult activities. And then we have the post-reading activities and the word power and a review. Now I'm just gonna scroll. We have a graphic organizer. And now at the end of each unit in the workbook, I'm just gonna scroll over there. We have 2 texts that are extra reading texts. So basically that makes it about 6 texts that they have in a unit. Now there's an extra reading 1 and an extra reading 2, where the first extra reading is usually the easier one, and the next one is a bit more difficult. And of course we took fun topics that kids would like to do and have fun reading. Now the weaker kids can only do the first extra reading. The stronger kids can do the second one, of course. This is you just play with it as you see fit. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the workbook now and go back to the course book. Okay. Okay. Is it on? Can you see the course book? No? Okay. Oh, share screen. Okay. There you go. Okay. There are just a few things I wanted to show you. Oh, okay. And then of course, at the end of each unit, we have the writing section. The writing section gives them a chance to write according to a genre that we chose in that specific part. Now, for example, here they're going to be writing a blog. So we gave them a blog to see how a blog is supposed to look. If it's an email or it's a blog or it's a diary entry or whatever it is, they get an example. And according to the example, we're giving them detailed instructions, what we expect them to do and how to do it. And every reading section is divided into the same parts: A, read; B, plan; C, write; D, check; and E, present. They have a checklist, of course, and they have tips for writing. So it makes it much easier for the kids to write. And then we have a review in the course book. Check your word power. This is the whole all the vocabulary from the unit, from all 4 parts. And then, of course, they review it. We have a digital practice on page 37, where they go to their computers and they can practice the words on the computer in different activities. And at the end, we have your big task, which is the performance task, which is something they're expected to do after they finish the unit, which is based on the writing, the reading, the vocabulary words. Usually they work in pairs or in groups, and it's a fun activity, and it's very, it's interesting and fun. And I think the kids are really going to enjoy doing these things. Now, I'm just going to show you a few pages. I'm going to scroll. Okay. This is an example of a literature piece from a different unit. It's based on a movie. It's a movie review. It's a story based on a movie, which I'm sure most of the kids have already seen, and they can talk about it. I know that my daughter really enjoyed reading about it, and then she asked me to watch the movie, and then she watched the sequel, and she had a really good time with this story. I'm going to take you now to another interesting here we have Here they're learning about, on page 100, they're learning about 3 kids, which are real kids. You can Google them and watch videos about them and learn about them, who have done something to help the community, and they're called heroes. And then we introduced them in a comic strip, which we wrote, where you can actually see what these kids have done in a fun and engaging way in the comic strip. And the kids are actually reading pretty much like reading a long text, but it's divided into small parts, so they're not feeling tired and depressed after a long text. One other thing I wanted to show you. Okay, still loading. Here we have another piece of literature on page 145, which is a song that they can listen to. And in the teacher's guide, of course, you can find the lyrics and where you can find the actual song. I think you have it also in the UPP site. A song about real-time heroes. Another genre that we decided to add to the end of the book, because it's pretty long and it uses most of the vocabulary words that they have already learned in the unit, is a play, which you can actually make a play with using this text. You have the kids actually act it out in front of the other classes, in front of the school, and it's a very fun play. It's also based on a movie, which you can actually show the class before or after. I know my kids enjoyed watching it. You have lots of little think bubbles on page 184, 185, which are high order thinking skills. What do you think about? What did you learn about? Another do you know? You have them all over the place, and they're really fun to have, these features. In the text itself, we have another genre, which is a diary, where he's writing in his diary. So there are very, very many different genres and different features throughout the book. Any questions? I hope I covered everything. So, yeah.
No, Sandra, hi. So first of all, thank you very much, Sari. Wow. high-speed look over the whole of the book and the workbook activity. I will say a couple of things that are, I think, really, really important. First of all, I think from all of our experience, we've all been teachers at one time or another, that to have materials that give you meat and content upon which to base your classroom activity is crucial. A lot of teachers work endlessly to create content that's inspiring and animating for their classrooms. I know from all the groups that I'm in and WhatsApp, teachers are really working very, very hard. And we feel that the book gives a very, very powerful and strong backbone of content that will cover a lot of different fields of interest that your students will be able to hone in on, will be able to sink their teeth into. You'll be able, different teachers have different teaching styles. The teacher's guide that was written by the writing team as well will expand and give additional ideas and materials that you can use to cover different knowledge gaps, different learning styles in the classroom, different strategies amongst the different students. So that's another element that that we've added. Yes, Annette, we have written tests. There's a couple of schools that are already doing this, using this book this year for a pilot. So they have received the tests. Our books are up on digital reading platforms such as Classus. There are certain elements that are interactive. They're put on the website. And the other thing I should mention is, of course, that we're aligned to the new curriculum. So this is one of the most updated books that is available for this age group, or maybe I should say the most updated book that's available for this age group. And of course, it has the updated vocabulary bands in it. Our team, unfortunately, had to rewrite part of the book, seeing as the bands were changed in the middle of the process of getting authorization from the ministry. So if anyone else has something, yes, Hagit, please open your mic. You need to open your mic.
Your mic, Hagit.
Cannot hear you. Your mic is closed.
Oh, okay.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so except for, in addition to the tests, for each unit, we have self-assessments for each part of each unit. So we have about 20 self-assessments, quizzes for the kids. So this is
Where are they?
mentioned it. But there are also given for each part. At the end of each part, there's a self-assessment. Like, so it's very important just to know. I don't think you mentioned it. I think about something in the middle, but I don't remember what I wanted. It was in the middle of Sauri's things that I wanted to say something, but I'll try to remember in a few minutes.
As we're going along, Beseda Gamo. Okay. Yofi. Sari, maybe you can stop sharing for a second.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we can see the different faces on the screen. Ladies, feel free to ask the questions. Open your mic because we can't all see what's on the SMS, on the chat box. So feel free to open your mic and ask the question.
Someone wrote in the chat. Someone
Yes,
wrote in the
Arlene.
chat asking if there were any games.
Games, the ladies are asking about games.
I can vouch that there, hi, I'm Renata Klein. I also worked on the book. I can vouch that there are games there, both in the book and as well in the teacher's guide. There's also a bunch of suggestions for games that could be played before each unit or before each class or as a summary, a whole bunch of suggestions for games. I'd like to add that there's also throughout the book, in the teacher's guide, tons of digital learning suggestions, which especially comes into play in times like this when there's a lot of Zoom learning going on. So whether it's something like, digital breakout rooms or games like Kahoots or different platforms where you can make collaborative whiteboards and stuff like that. Tons and tons and tons of suggestions to help the teachers in times like this, or even when we're back in regular class, but you break out and things, and kids who are absent or whatever. Those are always things, God's willing, that we can use. There's also a lot of differentiation advice, suggestions in the teacher's guide as well, whether it's enrichment activities for higher level kids or activities or suggestions to help the lower level kids. A lot of things like that. And also sometimes even we just throw out questions that you can ask to help discussion of a text that you read or vocabulary exercises that they just did. So the teacher never has to be at a loss of what to do. And so the teacher could teach in their own style. And we also provide a lot of different suggestions for different kinds of types of learners and types of teachers as well.
יופי.
It's a great book.
Thanks, Renana.
Okay.
Yes, Hagit.
It's also important to stress that, to emphasize that the new vocabulary which is used in each unit is used like throughout the unit, even in the grammar section, as requested by the ministry, of course. So it's recycled again and again, also in really like even with sentence completion, all the grammar exercises are also using, I mean, we use the words in everywhere in the book, and we also recycle it, of course, in further units. So, for example, also in the just before we present the grammar section, there is a small conversation, a dialogue between two kids. We also try to use recycled words from previous units or from the unit as we go along. So it's very, very important to emphasize this, because we really tried hard to use to recycle the words all over the book.
Yofi, thank you very much. The recycling of vocabulary is, of course, critical because the kids are learning, very often are asked to learn the vocabulary in a sort of disgruntled manner or disjointed manner. So putting it all together into actual use and using it in the different, you know, whether it's receptive or productive knowledge, that's very, very important. There are a lot of questions about digital. The digital books appear on Kotar and on classes as ebooks. As we go along, very often you'll find in the UPP website that there are additions that we add to books throughout the year. No, we don't have an LMS. We sometimes work in collaboration with other companies that do have LMSs. This is not something that we provide or think is practical or useful at the moment, but we do provide the digital content. And we'll see as we go along exactly the extent to which we add digital content. It will all appear on the website. You can see samples of our digital content in different books. We Take Charge has good examples, Making Headway for the high school. You'll see examples of the way that we use or the way that we create digital assistance for the teachers and the students' learning process, okay? Does anyone have any other questions, comments, things that they want clarified? Yeah, Iris, just one thing before I forget, because I have a very bad memory, I'm sorry. I put a link into a Google survey. If everyone can just fill out their name and phone number just for 2 seconds in the Google survey, and then we'll also be able to be in touch with you if you have further questions or any information is needed. Iris,